Welcome to the deep dive. We take interesting source material and, well, we pull out the key knowledge you need. Fast, no overwhelm.
That's the goal.
Today it's all about public speaking. We've got this great document and we're diving deep. Think of this as, I guess, your shortcut to feeling more confident at the mic, whether you enjoy it or frankly dread it.
Yeah, and the mission here is really actionable insights, right? Maybe even uncover a few things you didn't expect about prep and delivery.
Exactly. And what struck me about the source material is the range it covers.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just, formal business talks. It goes into informative stuff, persuasive speaking, debates.
Even religious presentations. It really shows how these core ideas apply pretty much everywhere you might need to communicate effectively.
And the source definitely positions public speaking as a really valuable skill. It even calls it a thriving business in some places.
Which says a lot. It's more than just getting through one speech. It's an investment in how you connect with people. Okay, so let's get into the foundations. The source kicks off with some core ideas about what makes a speaker good.
Right. And a big one early on is that a good speaker can actually influence the audience's emotions. What are your thoughts on that?
It's powerful, isn't it? It's not just about data dumping. It implies like a real human connection. The source says an engaging delivery should transcend all barriers. That really drives home how you say something matters.
It really does. It suggests that, great speaking creates the shared feeling, the shared experience. Then it breaks down the different types of public speaking.
Yeah, the list. Informative, teaching something. Persuasive, changing minds.
Ceremonial for those big occasions.
Extemporaneous, which is speaking with notes, sort of flexible. And then impromptu, the scary one, speaking off the cuff.
And dreaded impromptu, yeah. But, even though they're different, the source points to techniques that work across the board. Did any jump out at you?
Well, humor, definitely. A good laugh can really pull people in, can't it?
Totally. And gestures, too, using your hands, your body to emphasize things visually.
Oh, yeah. And repeating key phrases helps things stick. And, of course, just staying on track, being on point, as they say.
Which kind of leads to credibility, doesn't it? How does the source say we build that trust?
Well, appearance comes up. Your general impression, being appropriately attired, is that first visual check, I suppose, going to make people more open to listening.
That makes sense. First impressions matter. And the nonverbal stuff is huge. Okay,
Yeah.
let's switch gears a bit. Stress, public speaking stress, it's real.
Oh, it's universal, right? Even pros feel it. The source acknowledges that. But it offers some pretty practical ways to deal with it. What stood out to you there?
The absolute drumbeat on preparation, being well prepared, both in terms of content material and also with the mindset, that was presented as like the number one stress buster.
Yeah, confidence from knowing your stuff, fewer nasty surprises.
Exactly. If you know it, you're less likely to panic if something unexpected happens.
And then there were those slightly more unusual tips, like chocolate.
Huh. Yes, that one definitely made me look twice. A great stress buster, it says, with natural stress-reducing properties.
Maybe a little pre-speech ritual for some, a square of dark chocolate.
Could be. Quirky, but maybe effective for some people. And then there was vitamin B.
Right, B3 and niacin as energy boosters, which could, indirectly help with stress, kind of a holistic thing.
Supporting your body, supporting your mind, makes sense. And then the EMI technique. That was new to me. The Z-tracking eye movement.
Okay, explain that one. Sounds a bit different.
Yeah, it does. But the source describes it as pretty simple, non-invasive. You basically keep your head still and trace the letter Z with just your eyes. Like visualize it. And you do that maybe 8 times before you speak.
Huh. And the idea is?
The idea is that specific eye movement helps re-regulate your focus, maybe calm the nervous system down. Might sound odd, but the source suggests it works for some speakers.
Interesting. Definitely one listeners could try, maybe discreetly, before stepping up. Okay, so hopefully we're feeling a bit calmer now. Let's talk content, the actual stuff you say. What makes it good, according to this?
Well, the big thing is capturing and keeping attention. And that comes down to relevance and, being genuinely informative.
It needs to be well thought out, engaging both mental and visual capabilities, so not just talking at people.
Exactly. It's not just having information, it's having valuable information presented effectively. The source talks about needing fluency and finest points, and it really pushes outlining beforehand.
With some diligence, it says. That time spent finding and organizing the info, it's foundational, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the goal isn't just to inform, but to leave the audience satisfied and even curious to learn more.
That's a high bar. Not just teaching, but sparking interest. How do we keep it relevant then?
The document suggests breaking your talk into main categories. Just helps structure everything, keeps it focused so the audience can follow.
Makes sense. And the info itself. What are the criteria?
It should be useful, right? Create something new for the listener, be valuable, beneficial, and information rich, but not confusing. That's a tough balance.
It really is. And underpinning it all, clarity and accuracy. You lose credibility fast if you're unclear or just plain wrong.
So true. The source also mentions being ready to back up your points, substantiating them, and making sure your info is up to date.
And thankfully, we have tools for that. The internet gets a specific mention as a research tool. Use what's available. Okay, now this next bit really jumped out at me.
Oh.
The power of three. Structuring around just 3 main points.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's all about impact and what people actually remember. The argument is basically 3 solid, meaty points stick way better than 10 smaller facts.
It taps into how our brains work, right? We like things in 3s.
Seems so. Easier to process, easier to recall later. So it means you really have to distill your message down. What are the absolute most important things?
Find those 3 core pillars.
Precisely. And then you build on them, make them engaging, informative. But the source also says, watch your audience.
Yes. Adjust based on their reactions.
Right. Pay attention to the pace for each point. Make sure it's actually landing. It's not just broadcasting, it's a bit of a dance.
A dynamic process.
No.
Okay. Another key idea. Keeping the end in sight. Starting with a clear purpose. Why is that so important?
Well, think about any goal, really. You need to know where you're going, right? The document calls it inception. The mental picture of the goal and execution, the actual doing.
So, define the destination before you map the route.
Exactly. What do you want the audience to think, feel, or do afterwards? Start there. And then everything in your presentation, your general theme, needs to point towards that end goal.
Keeps everything aligned.
Yeah.
Avoids confusing people with detours.
Right. It helps the audience grasp the essence and expected results. The source says this is especially vital for talks with a clear aim, business, motivation, education.
Makes sense. And ending on that purposeful note, it can be really motivating for the audience too, can't it?
Definitely. Gives a sense of closure, reinforces the value. Okay, so we've hit content, structure, purpose. Let's loop back to something the source hammers home again and again. Preparation.
You really can't overstate it, can you? The document is clear. Preparation needs to be at its best at all times.
And it directly links how well you know your stuff to your confidence and credibility. Fumbling with notes, hesitating, it just undermines you.
Yeah, project's uncertainty. The source suggests things like mind maps, short phrases, even just one-word prompts as aids.
Right. Tools to help you deliver smoothly, connect with the audience instead of your script.
And prep isn't just the words, it's the tech too, right? Checking your slides, your mic.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing derails things faster than a tech fail you could have prevented. It all boils down to being as prepared as possible so your message gets through clearly.
Even small things like arriving early. Gives you time to breathe, fix last-minute hiccups.
Totally. It's about controlling what you can control. And the source wraps that point up by saying good prep stops those nightmare scenarios, like not being able to answer a question or being challenged on a fact you got wrong.
Yeah, getting caught out on accuracy is probably the fastest way to lose the room.
Credibility gone.
So, wrapping up this deep dive on public speaking based on our source, it really paints a picture, doesn't it? Good speaking isn't magic. It's skill built on solid prep.
And managing nerves, crafting resonant content, structuring it smartly.
Having that clear purpose and delivering with confidence, these aren't just suggestions, they feel like the core ingredients.
Which brings us to the listener. Thinking about all this, these core ideas we've pulled out, what's maybe one small, concrete thing you could change or adjust in your next presentation, your next important conversation, to make it just that little bit more impactful?
That's a great question. And maybe also, now that we've explored these principles, how could thinking more deliberately about your audience, what they need, what they expect, really shape how you prepare next time?
Good food for thought. Ultimately, applying these ideas can help shift public speaking from something scary to something you can approach with, well, maybe not zero nerves, but definitely more confidence.
Knowing you've done the work and you know how to connect. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.